So these are, I'm going to take you through another set of designs. And what I try to do is to apply the existing design principles and explain to you what they are as I do my designs. Usually, before I jump into the actual design, I actually make a mock-up or a wireframe. Actually, it's called a wireframe. Wireframe is basically your design in its most basic form. Just usually I use paper to just come up or whip up a layout based on what I already have in mind. So I have a design. I'll just explain. I think I will explain how I came across or how I did that design. Go to my CorelDRAW. I'm going to open an already existing work, and it is it's a flyer for an upcoming event called the Disciple Makers Summit. And I'll just go through how I came up with that design. If I can find it. Yeah, so I'm going to open one of my recent work. Okay, yeah. So open one of the recent jobs that I've done, and I'll just go through how I came up with the idea. So basically, the layout for the design is very simple. Essentially, these are the ideas that I had, and this is where the main idea came from. What I've done is repurpose the idea. Initially, I was going to go with this design, which is basically, and I'll just quickly explain the principle of design used. So essentially, this layout is just basically the name of this ministry, what they're presenting, the main name of the event. These are the images, and I feel that this is a bit clustered. There's too much going on here, so I'll kind of do like a remake of this design. But essentially, what I just wanted to show you is how to apply the principles of design. So, for example, the principle of design. One of the principles of design is distributing the weights properly. So in this case, this is a lot of visual weight, these images here, this title here, and then there's still weight on this side. So there's a lot going on here. The design is not centered enough. I would have preferred if all this that is going on here comes to this side, or we have this at the top, then we not have the thing. But I'm just going to try and do a redesign. I'll do this exactly, and then we'll do a redesign and see how that can help. Then I'll show you what I've done with this Disciple Maker Summit. Essentially, everything is centered. All the weight is in the middle, and so we can see on this side, some of the weight is on the left, some of the weight is on the right. I still think that this is not evenly distributed, and so we'll probably put less weight and hierarchy on this so that there's some form of unity on this design. I prefer if this went up, and then this thing came underneath here, so that the weight is on one side and then our eyes can go to that side. So I am going to redesign this, and if you look at this previous design, like I mentioned, is basically the same design. I just changed the colors and I explain what I've done. So let's create a new document. In this case, we're going to make it 1080 by 1080p. That's the size of Instagram square Instagram post. Put the resolution at 300 and click OK. Essentially, we have our artboard. We have our board on ground where we're going to be doing our design. Usually, it's always better to put all your elements ready. So like I said, let's just take this design and we're going to duplicate it. We're just going to make a few adjustments to it to make sure that it's working. All right, so we have it here. Let's just place it side by side here. So essentially, we have our text. First and foremost, if you look at this, we have our background that has an image in the background. We have our background is a colored background that is a a gradient. There's a blue here, there's a lighter blue here, and then we have that blue. So, and there's an image in the background. So we're going to import file, import, or just simply drag and drop the image. The image is my download. This is the image we are going to be using. Just going to click and then drag, and we have it here. So we're not going to follow exactly what they have. I'm just going to use this image. So essentially, we have the image. I've dragged it to this place with my shape tool selected. I'll just extend the corners here. I'm going to also draw a square. I've picked my rectangle tool. I will hold Control down so that I have a perfect square, and then it's done. If you look at the size here, I can adjust the size here to be 1080 by 1080. Okay, just tap enter, and because this is already constrained, this is already on to have the exact shape. So what I need to do is I'm going to use my my eyedropper tool. I'm going to select the colors that I need. Just hold Control down. You see that a plus has appeared by the side. That's with Control. I've left Control. If I hold Control, it has it, and then I can just sample the colors that I want. So those are two colors that I'll be needing. I'm going to apply those colors using the fill tool. It's hidden somewhere. This is the fill tool. This is it here, interactive fill. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pick this color. Sorry, let me pick that again. Supposed to allow, yes, now that it's selected, I can just drag from the top. I'll drag it down. What it has done is that it has only used this default color. So I'm going to click on this to change it. The color, I can select this, and then I'll also click on this and I'll select this color. We have something close to what we have here. I'm going to remove the outline, so I'll select my right click with my pick tool selected. Just right click on the color and then click set outline color. Now I don't have any color. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send this to the back. I'll right click on this, and I have order, then just to the back of the page I have it. So we have this in front, we have this at the back, the background color at the back. I have the image. What I want to do is I want to apply an effect on the image to make it appear as if it's inside and it's blended together. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go to the transparency tool here. Click on the transparency tool. I'm going to select the option here. There are two ways I can do this. I can either drag this way, and then you have just adjust this to be able to see. You can see what's going on here. Already it's beginning to look like it's blending with the image. Or alternatively, let me undo all this. I can just go to these properties that are here, have a uniform transparency, has everything. I can adjust or toggle this by either increasing or reducing this. The only challenge with using this is that the edges are still very, very evident, which I don't want it to do. So what I can do is I can easily just drag this. It usually hides the edges if I use this option and drag it to the end, or alternatively I can move this line, this simple line. It helps us to adjust this and move it out so that it's almost literally hidden. One other thing I can do if I'm not using this normal transparency option is to go to this this properties bar here and look for other options. There are several other options here: add, subtract, difference, multiply. Usually I will either use screen. Screen allows the image to blend with the color that is existing, and then I'll just make this adjustment with the tool that I have here. Yes, so that way is almost hidden, and you can adjust this. You can just play with some of these things you get to use to find out which works. There are several options for transparency. There's linear transparency, which I just used here. There is a radial transparency or elliptical, which is like a circular method. So if you have something that you want to blend the colors from inside out, kind of. Then you have the conical transparency, which kind of makes it like a cone. We have the diamond transparency, okay, rectangular. Then we have, I think, okay, yeah. Sorry, the rectangular used to be called diamond at the time, but that's not what we want to do here. So let me just apply my linear transparency, just make that work for us. Just blend it in so that it almost disappears into it. And like I said, you can increase the strength of the transparency such that it's almost hidden into what we have. You can see that. Yeah, it's hiding in it. Okay, so we have that. Then we have our text. So let's type the believers night of bliss. What we are going to do is that we're going to make our design left aligned, so all our major content will be on the left. So I'm going to, this has to be colored white. Look for a simple text. This Arial is fine. Most people do not use Arial, but Arial is fine. You can have believers night of victory or night of bliss. Okay, just leave that there. No need to darken or to bolden the text. I am going to go ahead to also yes, we have the present font text. So presents, sorry, select all that, presents, reduce the size of this, make it smaller, and then with your shape tool selected, you can actually increase the kerning or the space between text. So we have believers night of. One more thing that I usually do whenever I'm doing any design, I go to this menu up here where you have enhance. It helps my text look not pixelated. If I use the pixels option, you can see that the text is beginning to break. But if I use the enhanced option here, everything looks crisp, and that's for me. It actually does not distract me. This is less distracting for me. And so let me adjust this font. I love to use Articulate. It's a font that you can download online. I like it because of the way it just works. We have this. Let me change this to Articulate. Normal. Let's see, where is it? Okay. Okay, beautiful. I'm using my shape tool to adjust the space, the line height. I have presents here. Select the two together by just dragging around it. Like I said, there's an option for you to be able to align the object. So if you go to object, you see align and distribute. By aligning to the left, just click align left, and then it moves all the text to the left. My zoom tool, I'm right clicking so that I can zoom out. You can already see. Then we have healing and prophetic. So we have healing, and I'll rather type them separately. I will explain why in a bit. Prophetic conference. Okay. The reason I'm typing separately is so that I can do what I want to do to them individually. So if I do Control K, that's Control and K, it breaks the text apart. Let me do that again. Control and K breaks the text apart. The other option you can do, I think there's an option to be able to break the text apart. We go to objects. There's, yes, break in, and yeah, so you can break the text apart. Now there are individual text that I can do whatever I want to do. So this healing, we have there's a font that we can use. You can either use Bebas, or there's Aurora. AUR, yeah. So we have that. I think I'll use this. This will just make this slightly look slightly different than one we have. So I'll color this white. You can see that we have our healing. Reduce this a little bit. Then we have our hand in a different color. Prophetic looks like the same thing. one of the easiest things you can do when you're applying the same properties to different texts or different elements, sometimes vector elements, is you can just drag. I'm dragging my right click. You see that there's a crosshair, the circle that has crosses, and then you can see that there's an A that is pointing into it. When I drop that, it says copy all properties. Just makes this exactly like what we have. So let me increase this a little bit. I'm going to drag and select both together. I'll go to objects and align and distribute. Align to the left. You can see that it has moved it to the left. So we have it here this way. The and, let's put our and here. I can just make that yellow. I'm zooming in now so we can have a closer look. Move this up. My and I will use, yes, this font. Just make it. Yeah, I don't need to add the. Usually, I don't usually add a an object at the back. The reason is just I rather not just complicate the design. I just want to make it simple and easy for people to catch. What's most important is healing and prophetic, and we already have that. So let me just make this, shift this a little bit. Then conference, same text. I can just drag this, right click, drag it into this, and copy our properties. And we have it applying that. So just increase this a little bit. I'm just going to look for images of two people that are not particularly related to this. So let me look for images that are already that the backgrounds have already been removed. So let me see if I can find any. Let's see. I usually have a folder on my computer that has images of passwords and stuff. I'm not sure where I kept that now. But let me just get PNG documents. Okay. See if this will work. I can just drag any image into CorelDRAW. Okay. So this is Reverend. This is okay. That's Reverend Alex Adiboye. You can use any image actually. Just make sure that the backgrounds have been taken out. I'm just going to place that here. Underneath this, I'll probably just use my picture. Let me see if I can get my own pictures. I'd rather not use somebody else's. Okay, just want to be sure that I have PNG images. I'm just going to select and drag and drop. Okay. Oops. Select the PNG image. It's not transparent, it's not transparent. We're going to have this here. By the way, this is just a dummy, so apologies, it doesn't look like. All right, so this is transparent background. Get one more image. Let's see what this looks like. Sorry. Which is why I said it's always better to have everything on ground. If you can, it would be good to always have your images on ground so that you can just go ahead and edit without having to go back and forth over the designs. All right, so let me, because this is not appropriate, but let me just add it just for the sake of what we're doing. All right. Okay, I have to make sure that it's proportionate. If you look at this, what I have here is not exactly proportionate. I selected the shape tool to adjust this. If you look at it, I mean, I try to do this as much as possible. The images should be proportionate to one another so that in real life, when you put them together, they probably look like they are similar, or at least they are to scale. Okay, So I'm going to move this, send this forward. What I've just done is I press shift and page up on my computer, and then that sends the image of the lady to the front, sends the image of the guy to the back. I'm going to do some editing and cutting to make sure that balances out. Yep. Okay. So this doesn't communicate in, and let me see if I can find an actual image that talks about healing, or at least people that are looking serious. Sorry about that. Phone call coming in. Just pause this. Okay. So I've gotten an image that is more appropriate to myself and my wife. So I think I can use this. I'll just cut this so that it appears this way, and then have that. Okay. So we have, yeah. And I will try and move this image so that it aligns with this. I'm going to take a line from a guideline from here so that you see what I'm talking about. You can see that it aligns perfectly well. I'm going to move this too so that it aligns well with this, and then delete that. So we have this, so you can see how perfectly aligned everything is. Then we need the extra information. I always like, there's something called white space in design. I always like that my designs have white space. It allows the design to be able to breathe and for people to have a place where they can fix their eyes on. So that's what we're going to do with this design. We're going to add these other pieces of information, but we're going to make it very subtle so that it will be like an L shape. We'll have all the other pieces of information at the bottom here. So this thing where we have the Lord has need of them, I'm going to write it as one, all caps, the Lord has need of them. The scripture, let's look closely at this, is Matthew 21:13. So I'm just going to put that in the next line, Matthew 21:3. Sorry. Okay, so like I said earlier, we can just separate this. What do we have? No, sorry. Break text apart properly. I'm going to use the same articulate. The reason why I'm using this thin kind of font is because this font is not supposed to be the emphasis, or this part of the information is not supposed to be the emphasis. So in design, there's something called hierarchy, and that hierarchy is what we use to identify which part of the information is very important and key and which part is not. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make this box something that we'll use, trying not to distract from the content as much as possible. Okay, so with this, I'm going to outline this. Right click on white, set outline color so that we can have that, and then all the other pieces of information will go to the bottom here. Sorry, just Z that. Okay. Sorry. What I just did was that I right clicked and I left click, drag, and then I'll right click to just add that text. Okay, just one of the tricks. Okay, let me see if I can add. That's Friday 22nd June. Okay, let's make that 4th August 2025. I'm going to make this a thicker, bolder font. So let's make it this because it's important information. I'm going to draw two lines. I go to my freehand tool here, draw one line this way. I can just copy, either Control C, Control V, and then I've copied and pasted. I'm going to have the venue there. I'm going to select these two together, go to my object, align and distribute, align them to the left. If you see that there are letters here, these are the shortcuts. If I press L, it aligns to the left. L aligns to the left. If I press T, aligns to the top. B aligns to the bottom. That's not what we're doing now. So I'm going to right click and select the colors here. Put the address. Sorry. Just put the address. I'm just going to put address and venue of the program. I'm going to use the same white text for the extra bold. I'm going to reduce the size, make it white. Add it here. I'm going to reduce the size just by dragging here this way. Reduce the size. To copy this text two ways so that we have more than one line. Control V. I have my second part of the text here. So, yep. Center. I'm going to select this text. Like I said, if you go to Object, Align and Distribute, C is for center. Yeah. So, and then we have that. You can see that our design is looking cleaner than what we had before. I'm going to make this color too. I'm going to change the text to this thicker one. Make this bigger. Okay. Let me add the text theme. I just want to attach it to this, so I'm going to make that white. And just copy and paste that. What I did was just left click to drag and then right click to paste. So that's a faster way to copy and paste. It's going to be theme. And just so that it pops, contrast. I'm going to make it red so that we have that on that. Yeah. So if you look at this, you see that we have applied the same idea with the design, but then just made it slightly different. Well, yeah, slightly different. So now we have our design has an opportunity to be able to breathe. There's room for and space for the text to breathe. I'm going to add the final bit. That's the yellow, banana yellow piece of text. What I'm going to do, because it's supposed to be behind this, so what I'm going to do is that I've selected this with my pick tool, and I am going to right click on order. I'm going to ask it to come to the front of the page, so that way we have this at the back. Okay, if I wanted to use this exact color, I'll go to my color picker and just go and select the color here. And then the color appears in the palette here, and I can just use this color here for this. So if you look at this, there is some form of unity in the design. There are certain things that are that cut across the design. We have the colors that are uniform. We have the font types that are also uniform. And we have the colors. We have white spreading across, and you can see what we've come up with this new design. Let me add names of the speakers here. We can use the blue, just consistent, or use the orange, that's just consistent with what we have, and we can have that. All right, so see that we've come up with our own version of this same design, but then with a little bit more space for breathing. Let me add one more element That's our time. I'm going to just make this, put this here, right click. Oh, sorry, I said right click. R for right alignment. I'm going to drag. So what I just did was that I right clicked and dragged into this object. Now leaving it asking me that do I want to move, copy the field, copy the outline, copy the properties, power clip or cancel. Let's copy the properties. And then we have our time slot here. Let's just put this text here. It's 8 p.m. Sorry, the capital. Increase the size of this. Okay. I'll select the two by holding shift or just dragging around both, and I'm going to tap C and E, just center it properly. I can make this blue so that it pops, and we have our design.